Forgot my chapstick.
Your mouth is wet enough. You moist fucker.
Dan, you're dampening my pants. That's how wet your mouth is. You know what? Actually, maybe are you sealing the wetness in? Is this a protective measure for us?
I'm getting proximity moistened by Dan's mouth.
You know when you leave your clothes out on a damp morning?
Yeah.
It's like that, sitting next to you.
Dan's whole body is a humidifier.
Every time I fucking see it, man, it makes my skin fucking crawl.
Peppermint?
Oh no, I'm good, thank you.
Welcome back to I'll See Myself Out. I'm Dan Lisho.
I'm Ryan Patel.
I'm Terry.
I'm Norm.
Say hi to the people, Terry.
I will get the hose.
They let me out of the cage for this. I don't know why.
Terry's that character that when he he's Garth. When he realizes he's on camera, just freezes.
You ever seen body scanners? Guy's head to explode?
Like the Running Man.
Scanners, I've never seen it.
Let these be your only warnings.
There will be foul language.
There will be spoilers.
There most certainly will be foul language.
We just got out of the theaters and we were watching Birds of Prey.
For any of you at home who don't know what Birds of Prey is about, it's basically sort of almost like an origin story / tangent. What's the technical term for this?
Spin-off.
Spin-off. Words. Alcohol.
DC's Charlie's Angels.
Except way better than any Charlie's Angels film I've seen. Except for the early 2000s version where you get to see Drew Barrymore's side boob. Double side boob, actually. I'm into all side boob, especially Norm's side boob.
Definitely an improvement from the side nut we had last week.
See, I'm glad I'm on this side now. I don't get the full facial shot.
You stop that right now.
Are your shorts getting shorter?
Conversations up here, boys.
Thank you, Dan.
This is a rough start.
The premise is Harley Quinn breaks up with the Joker, and she's now lost all the privilege and freedoms that came with being the Joker's girlfriend.
Except this whole film kind of starts off on the arc of it being like her strong, independent woman quest to like be her own in person rather than to be known as the sidekick to the Joker. I love this movie. Like, I mean, we'll talk more about what we did and didn't like, but I absolutely love this movie. It was...
So the whole movie, Harley Quinn is being hunted by every person she's wronged throughout the entire city of Gotham. That's because she's no longer under the protection of the Joker.
Nobody wants to disappoint Jared Leto in this film until Harley Quinn makes a very grand gesture of blowing up that giant Ace Chemicals factory. Then the whole film kind of goes off from there.
I don't know about you, but like a chemical factory probably shouldn't have that many fireworks kicking around. Like there was a fireworks truck.
They were chemical reactions.
There's an awful lot of Roman candles in that chemical reaction.
This is probably a good opportunity for us to point out to the audience again that none of us are scientists or doctors.
But we will take a look.
I mean, I felt like the whole undertone and theme of this movie when it came to like the visuals was all like, oddly enough, like very colorful. At least everything surrounding Harley Quinn. She's like vomiting colors in like every scene.
Well, that's kind of the character, the comic book character. She's very colorful and explosive in how she is, but she's one of the most intelligent of the goon squad.
Yeah, which we definitely picked up on. It was nice that they actually took the time to try to explain the motivations behind her character. They actually went to more lengths than expected to explain how everything in the film happened.
Pretty much the only thing I liked about this movie, Margot Robbie plays Harley Quinn amazingly. It's really the only thing I like about the movie, and it's pretty much the only thing I like about any DC movies is the villains. The rest of them, DC movies, in my mind, are horrible. Their storytelling is gone. It's just basically, oh, action, here, choke this down your throat and enjoy. Whereas Marvel, the major competition between Marvel and DC was always, Marvel, you can have snippets. You can watch a movie and it's an enjoyable movie, the story kind of starts and ends. DC has always been that long, drawn out, there's never been one episode that you can watch at a time.
Well, that's an interesting point because I think that part of the reason why this movie was made the way it was because DC was trying to play catch up to Marvel by like putting out Suicide Squad, introducing so many characters all at once. And it's interesting that you point that out just because like they felt like they were trying to incorporate so much into these movies that it was almost hard for me to like feel attached to those characters. And this movie kind of felt like they really slowed everything down and like really took the time to recap her character, like her history, her influence, her motivation, and like even her being a villain, like she wasn't so much like evil as she was just super chaotic. Like even her intentions to do something good were done in a way that was like just created a fucking mess for everybody.
Well, it's kind of she's pure chaos. That's why she's always been the paramour to Joker, because he's also the epitome of chaos. There's this weird concept that Batman is actually the bad guy because he's not doing anything to fix anything, where Joker's actually eliminating the mob families. So there's this weird kind of concept that Joker and Harley Quinn are actually better than Batman.
They're kind of anti-heroes.
They're anti-heroes in the same way that Batman is, except for they're more, kill and just eliminate and move on. So they're monsters. If you kind of remove the fact that they are horrible monster killing people, their concepts of what they're trying to do is more effective than what Batman's doing. You can kind of see that in this movie is all the villains get together to try to save the day to kill another villain.
Except that one cop, right? She was not a villain. She was just kind of joining the villain squad.
Well, interestingly, that kind of that point ties into what you were just saying about how they're kind of anti-heroes in that sense, because the backdrop of the officer's character was that she was like an intelligent, driven woman who just been overlooked for opportunities for advancement in her career. Even at one point in the film where she loses her badge, that's kind of the turning point where her character goes from being this person who's trying to work within the law to being a vigilante, but a vigilante who's still working on the side of the law. So it's kind of interesting that the Suicide Squad, the whole idea there was that they were criminals who were being teamed up together for the greater good. But in this film, it was actually, the subtitle of the film being The Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is it's kind of her going back to being good again, but in her own fucked up way.
And anyone who gets a hyena as a pet is my favorite. That's awesome. The hyena's in some of I think the cartoons, mainly what it is.
I think for me, my favorite part of this movie was the visuals. It was one of my favorite movies I've seen in a long time, visually speaking. Anytime something important was happening or there was conflict, it was just littered with color. And I loved the shit out of it.
Yeah, one of the things I liked was the scene where she comes in with those big canisters as bullets.
Yes, that was one of my favorite parts.
Those beanbag rounds and
the glitter bombs.
The glitter bomb was great.
Wasn't there one of the shots she puts out was mustard or something, wasn't it?
It was probably a paint shot.
But it was really weird the way that they made it look on screen. But yeah, it was something.
I love that it was a break from kind of straight gore.
Well, they came in hot when they were cutting someone's face off. It was nice to have a break from that, yeah.
Which is why I like Harley Quinn, because she tends to be less on the gore side and more on just the chaos and not murder.
One of the things I like about Harley Quinn the most is she kind of reminds me of Carly if she was a psychopath. It's kind of that sweet aesthetic. If she just became unhinged, I think that she would become that.
So give her a couple more years, is what you're saying.
If we have a third child, that's probably it.
I can't imagine Carly ever being unhinged.
Dan just gets a fucking whack-a-mole hammer in the ball.
I still go back to that other video where you're she's just gonna leave a note that says, "I'm taking the kids."
Yeah, I think I agree with both you guys on the points that you liked about the movie. The Justice League movies were all they almost were obnoxiously trying to be dark, as where the way that this film was colorized and the way the sets were set up and even the fog effects and the way that they shot scenes was way more way more of a comic book to me. That was a movie made to be like a comic book. It really brought me further into the movie because it felt stylized, but not in a way that was distracting. And then I agree with you on the comment that you made about how the action and stuff was done in this film, because there were so many scenes that were to me were well orchestrated, and it wasn't like some of the other films that we've watched where the action segments of those films were so ridiculous that you just couldn't believe in them. Even though this movie had some pretty outrageous fight scenes, they had really had the potential to be disgustingly gory scenes. It was they took the time to make those scenes that were over the top tastefully delivered. Because even the way that they killed people in this movie, whether it was a main character or if it was a little side villain, they got fucked up. And they really didn't pull any punches in this movie. There wasn't anything that seemed unbelievable, and the fight scenes were so well done that it didn't feel like a comic book movie until closer to the end. Margot Robbie did such a convincing job of becoming that character. It wasn't a 300 movie. She didn't seem like she was absolutely shredded in order to seem dangerous and kooky. And it was probably, in my opinion, one of the best examples of how to put a woman in an A-list action character role. I felt super invested the more this movie went on, not just in necessarily the characters, but just in how nice it was to sit through as a film. It was surprisingly cinematic.
I heard Dan sleeping beside me during the movie, so that was entertaining. Now that we've opened our big mouths and talked about our stuff, tell us what you guys liked about this movie. If you liked it, if you hated it, go with it.
The part of the movie that I hated was the one that drew attention to how old I've become. When she was on the roller skates and was being dragged behind the motorcycle, The only thing going through my head was, this is very dangerous. So I was like, you're making a bad call. She doesn't have any elbow pads on. There's no helmet.
You're thinking about the safety. I'm thinking going, how are the mechanics of that roller skate going to hold up to someone driving 70, 80 miles an hour behind a car?
I don't think they were going 7 or 80 miles per hour. That's pretty fucking fast, Terry.
I know. They were moving. They were in a car chase. You're not going to be going in a car chase
think maybe you
under
meant
70 miles an
kilometers
hour.
per hour.
No, I meant miles.
They're going through city streets. It was like they were dodging cars. You can't maneuver at that speed.
I changed my mind. My least favorite part of this movie is how Terry's perception of speed wavers so greatly from day to day.
Depth perception is.
Come again?
There were only a couple moments where I kind of felt like the movie was getting weird and I didn't like it. And it was mostly just like, it was weird really nitpicky things. Like when she sets one goon's like beard on fire and his whole body goes up. I mean, no, I think I enjoyed everything else. I think one of the only things that kind of made me not like it was the way that it had kind of like callbacks to characters who were like never on screen. If they were going to try to backtrack on kind of what they achieved in like Suicide Squad and like Batman versus Superman and that stuff, have like put a new Joker on screen, like push the story along. Like if you're gonna make a movie, take the 2 seconds to hint at like a new cast member. I mean, fuck, throw Joaquin Phoenix in there and like age him or something, so that they're kind of tying new storylines together and Xing out the past, like retconning the shit that they did in the other movies that they didn't like. Aside from that, like it really did, as a movie, make me feel like I could overlook most of the bad things I didn't like about the others. So those are my minimal qualms.
Except the kid. Couldn't overlook that pickpocketing little shithead.
Pickpocketing, diamond-eating shithead.
You could have probably cut this movie an hour short if they'd gone for burritos earlier, to get that kid to poop out that diamond.
See, your comments brought right into what I most hated about this movie. Aside from the fact that it's DC, and I pretty much do not like DC movies in general, it's the fact that the story based around someone taking a shit.
What an interesting thing to take away from the movie.
That was the only thing I could get at the end of it. I'm like, what? This is all waiting for someone to drop anchor.
Is that what you're going to tell people when they ask you what the movie's about?
Someone crunching and grumpy.
What did he just say?
Crunching and grumpy.
I don't think I've ever referred to anything as crunching and grumpy. And I sure as shit wouldn't be referring to taking a dump as crunching and grumpy. I might tell like my girlfriend I'm gonna go to the other room and crunch out a grumpy, but that wouldn't mean I'm taking a dump, that's for sure. But I do realize, not to cut into your segment, but I do realize why I think I connect with this movie a lot, because there's a lot of talk about taking poops and a lot of a focus on breakfast sandwiches, which are two things I really connect on.
Baby Lou's?
That's what I thought the whole time.
Dude, I haven't wanted a Baby Lou so bad in my life.
I knew how she felt about it because of that.
The moment it came out, I'm like, I hear Dan go, oh yeah.
I wanted one so bad the whole movie. There's a restaurant in Oshawa called The Rainbow, and they serve a sandwich called the Baby Lou, and it is exactly what Harley Quinn was trying to eat for breakfast.
Except the Baby Lou's better.
Obviously.
It's like way better.
And much bigger.
Is this like a 24-hour place? Because
No.
I'm getting a hankering just
It
talking about
closes
it right
at
now.
3.
They're an Oshawa institution. They're amazing.
I would do things for a Baby Lou.
You would do things for not a Baby Lou.
Irrelevant.
When we were working 60 hours a week and I opened for like a solid week straight, I had it every day.
They knew him by voice. Sometimes I would call and they'd be like, oh yeah, 2 Baby Lou's, no lettuce? Yeah. For Dan?
Yes, for Dan.
Feeling really left out of this sandwich experience.
Did you want to talk more about this movie being about taking shits?
And why that's a bad thing? So I'm pretty sure we just had a whole conversation about taking a shit.
And why it was a good thing?
The fact that it's taking shits is not a thing, is that they made
Come again?
Does anybody smell bad meat?
I smell a neglected charcuterie board.
My eyes are watering.
I felt that through the floor.
It's like a war crime.
We'd like to thank Brock Street Espresso for lending us these chairs. We'll return them as soon as we can.
after we wash them.
More like sand them and restain them after fucking Norm sat in them.
I'm not touching that chair. I'm just gonna give it back and blame you.
Of course, the only guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt's the one fucking farting during this episode. You are too relaxed, sir. What did Norm just do? What did he do? Something about a grouchy?
Crunching a grumpy.
Crunching a grumpy.
You've never heard that term that way.
Norm, what didn't you like about this movie? If you can explain without releasing anything from your body other than sound. I have cotton mouth. I feel like it just hit me.
It smells like soup over here. It smells like dirty roast beef. It's gross.
I smell a wet rag.
You know when you have like beef stew and it's just starting to turn in the fridge? That's what I'm getting, the smell here. It's like peas and carrots, dirty gravy, rotting potatoes, and just stale beef.
You know when you've been trying to make soup for too long and it starts burning around the edges and there's like a film?
That sure is what his underwear looks like.
The only thing that really stands out to me that I hated about this movie was Victor Zsasz' character. I didn't feel like it was well played. I didn't like that rendition of him, I guess, is a better way to put it. To me, Victor Zsasz' character is always off his rocker, but it's like in a very focused way. Like that kind of like lapdog thing he was doing.
Like massaging his back.
Like that kind of thing, that was out of character. That took me out of the movie a little bit. That side of the character. And like confident. He's a confident character. He's not like, I'm sorry, sir, or like that kind of thing.
Right.
But very, very loyal. Like that was still true.
I didn't know much about the background of some of the characters in the film before going into it. But that's an interesting point that he's not classically like that, at least.
I could definitely be wrong, but the times I've seen him, he's been otherwise.
I will say though that despite that maybe his character was not like comparatively equal to what his original character was like in comic books, the actor who plays him, I'm used to seeing him in like less dynamic roles. I felt like he did a good job.
You assholes have something you didn't like about the movie? That's how I talked to her.
He doesn't mean it.
I'm so sorry. You got me all riled up.
You got to be gentle but firm with them.
Yes, it's got to sound more like this. You assholes have anything you didn't like about the movie?
You grumpy crunchers.
Wow.
Huh?
Have you guys seen it yet? Are we spoiling it for you?
Hit the dislike button. If we spoiled it for you, don't do that.
We want to thank Brock Street Espresso for being our host again for this podcast. Come here so many times. I know that you guys practically live here, but they make great coffee. The owners are super cool. It's a great space. If you happen to be in the area, definitely check them out.
Hey, we'd also like to thank Man Antler. They have supplied us with some tasty, tasty beer, which is the root of all evil on this one.
So as you're watching this right now, set your watch for 20 minutes from right now and go to Man Antler.
So, before you fuck all the way off, do us some major solid. Hit that like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, share it with your neighbor.
You know what? Never mind. This is the internet. I'm not going to say anything.
Especially what, Brian?
Oh, nothing.
Vending machines? Because it works for me every time.
Is that what you call my butt?
When I put money in and I get what I want, it's a vending machine.
Can you cosplay as a vending machine? And by cosplay, I mean...
Live your normal life.
Never mind.
We're going to be shifting our Instagram channel from North Brothers to our very own I'll See Myself Out channel. So we've been doing all of our posts for I'll See Myself Out on our North Brothers channel on Instagram, but we're going to be firing up a brand new I'll See Myself Out podcast, and that's at I'll See Myself Out podcast on Instagram.